Hi everyone, I'm Sabine, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a follow-up video for my sketchbook challenge, but I thought I'd mix up the format a little bit, and instead of just talking about my progress, I'll talk a little bit about that, but also about the topic of the pros and cons of doing an art challenge. With Inktober right around the corner, I thought this would be a great opportunity, and also in the spirit of Inktober, today I'm going to be inking these rabbits. Today I'm going to be working on this ink drawing of rabbits while I talk to you guys about the progress that I've made in my sketchbook challenge. And given that Inktober is right around the corner, I thought I would talk a little bit about the pros and cons of doing an art challenge. First things first, let's talk a little bit about how I'm doing with my sketchbook challenge. As a recap, what I'm doing, I have a whole pile of unfinished sketchbooks. So what I'm doing is I made my own kind of homebrew challenge. I'm trying to finish 750 sketchbook pages in 5 months, which is before the end of the year. That works out to 150 pages a month and about 5 pages a day. How am I doing? I am pleased to report that I am on track. I should be finished 300 pages by the end of the month, and I'm almost there. I'm in the 290s, but I've got a couple days left of September. I will get there, and I am on track. The other good news is that I finished 2 more sketchbooks this month, and that brings me up to a total of 4 sketchbooks finished. Yay! The first sketchbook I finished is my Red Travelogue sketchbook. It was 56 pages in the end to finish up the sketchbook, in addition to all the other stuff that was in it. I was really, really happy when I finished it. I felt like this challenge had all been worth it at that point, and I was just really proud of the work I had done in it. It turned out great. The other sketchbook that I finished, it's like a sampler of various papers that is produced by Canson. And when I got this sketchbook, I thought, oh, this would be really cool because it has suggestions in it for different media that you can use on the different types of paper. So I thought this would be a good challenge for me to try out different media that I don't normally use. So that was really interesting, but it was also really difficult because I was working with media that I hadn't really used a lot. So there are a lot of pages in that sketchbook that I was not happy with. The other problem is that I really had to think a lot about how I was going to use those pages. What medium was I going to use? What was I going to try? What was a good thing to draw in this medium? It took up a lot of mental energy to plan out how I was going to use this sketchbook. So even though it was only 35 pages to finish it, it took a considerable amount of time. And I was also not particularly happy with it when I finished. There's some great drawings in it that I was really happy with, but there's also a lot of junk, and that happens when you experiment and try new things. Things don't work out the way you planned. So I have mixed feelings over the sketchbook, but I'm glad it's finished. Lucky for you guys, the next few videos that I'm planning are going to be sketchbook tours of these 2 sketchbooks. Anyway, this month has been pretty challenging for me. I've had a lot more difficulties than I did the first month, but let's get into them in more detail as I talk about the subject of this video, pros and cons of doing an art challenge. The biggest pro that I can think of to doing a challenge is the learning opportunity. This is a place where you can develop your skills. The best learning opportunities are actually when you're doing something that is challenging for you. If you're doing something that's too easy, you're not really learning much. And if you're doing something that's too hard, then you're not going to get anything done and you're going to get really frustrated. The sweet spot then is somewhere that's kind of just below something that you can't do. Or maybe you're working on something that you can't do, but you've broken it down into smaller pieces to learn something new. You're challenging yourself to do something that you don't really know how to do yet. Art challenges are things that are going to push you, and they're called challenges for a reason. They are going to challenge you to try new things and to work at a pace that isn't so comfortable. And the whole idea behind this is improvement. You're going to learn a new skill set, or you're going to develop a skill set that you already have. The flip side to this is stress. If you're doing something that's difficult for you, it might be frustrating. You might have a really hard time with it. One of the things I didn't really take into account before starting my challenge was the mental side of things. And, this isn't just about doing the work, but it's also about the planning. If you're doing something creative, that's going to take up a lot of your mental energy. You have to come up with ideas. You have to come up with solutions to problems. And if you're doing a daily challenge, then you have to do that every day. That can get exhausting. You really need to find a way to pace yourself. One of the best ways to do that is to kind of work ahead. It's a lot easier to go into a challenge if you have an idea or a concept for something than if you're just going to wing it every day. I have found that if I let prompts kind of sit for a little bit and I think about them, then I actually come up with an idea that I like versus just kind of going off the top of my head. Yeah, sometimes I come up with an idea that I like if I'm just going off the top of my head, but I also sometimes struggle with it. So if you give yourself a little bit of time to plan ahead, I think that's a really huge help in any challenge. The next pro and con run in a similar vein. It's accomplishment versus time. Naturally, any challenge that you do is going to take up time. That's the sacrifice you make for this commitment. The flip side is that you will actually finish things. If you're doing a monthly challenge like Inktober, at the end of it, you'll have 31 drawings. And if you've been working on a theme or from a prompt list, you'll have a cohesive body of work. But you get out of it what you put into it, so the more time you can commit to something, usually the better the result is, but not always. Going back to the whole learning thing, sometimes if you're really at a point where you're challenging yourself, some of that time might get wasted because you might end up doing something that is a little bit beyond your skill level and you might screw up. So if you're doing a monthly challenge and you're pushing yourself to learn something new, you have to take into account the fact that there might be screw-ups. You might have days where it seems like nothing that you're doing is going right, and that can be really frustrating. The other thing about a challenge, especially if you're committing to one publicly, is that I feel like it becomes a priority. If you're doing other things with your free time, those might have to fall by the wayside. I was trying to work on a comic in addition to YouTube videos and a sketchbook challenge and Drawloween, and I was able to work on it a little bit in August, but this last month, with everything else going on, I've dropped that ball. I had to let go of doing the comic because other things took priority. And believe me, a challenge is something that you feel like you really don't want to fail. So when you commit to it, it does become a priority, and you need to be aware of that if you're working on other things that might have to fall by the wayside. And if you're not prepared to make the challenge a priority, then maybe this isn't the right time to be working on one. One other thing I wanted to make a note of, in hindsight, I really wish I had set myself a shorter challenge. I think there's a reason a lot of the most popular challenges are 1 month long. It's kind of easy to commit that time and energy and mental space for a month, whereas I've committed to something that's way too long. Even a 100-day challenge is shorter than the challenge I've set for myself. Looking back on things, I think I wish that I had set myself 7 pages a day for 100 days. That would be almost the same and probably produce about the same results. I might have been a little more stressed out for 3 months, but I'm only 2 months in right now, and I'm looking ahead going, oh God, I have another 3 months of this, and I'm just not sure I'm gonna make it. Something that has added to my stress has been looking ahead and realizing that I'm going to have to keep prioritizing this, and I'm going to have to keep managing my time around it. I hate to admit it, and I don't want to drop this challenge that I've set for myself because I have seen results, and the results have been great, and I'm really happy with them, but I have pretty much screwed myself in the realm of time management, and I wish I had chosen a different time frame for this. The last pro and con on my mind relate to the social aspect of doing a challenge. If you're going to be posting your work publicly, then that's great for accountability. It's going to make you want to finish the challenge. As well, if there's a community for that challenge, you can find public support. It's great to find other people who are going through the same thing as you. You know, this is a great time to meet new people and make friends and do all that stuff that I really hate as an introvert, but is necessary for my development as an artist. So what's the downside to this? Well, if you're doing something like Inktober, where tons of people are posting their art, I feel like there's a really large chance for falling victim to the comparison game. If you're posting something publicly, you're probably pretty proud of it, right? You know, you're probably happy with it. But then you go online and you see all these beautiful drawings that people have done, and I know with myself, I start to think, oh wow, everyone else has their stuff together and is producing beautiful art, and it looks like I drew this on a napkin or something. Comparison is really dangerous, and I think if you're doing a public challenge where a lot of people are participating, there is that danger that you're going to start comparing the progress that you've made, and maybe it's really good progress for you, to the progress of others. I've definitely fallen into that trap before. And the whole point of Inktober is to increase your skill level. It is to get better at something. So if you draw every day for a month and you feel like your skill level has increased, then hooray, you've done the challenge. But there is a huge social side to Inktober. So obviously spending a ton of time on social media comparing yourself is going to be pretty detrimental. You want to focus on the things that you can do. You want to focus on your challenge and yourself. I think the best way to handle it is to measure your own progress against your old works. See how far this challenge has made you come, and hopefully that will make you feel a little bit better about yourself. So I don't know what you think about my pros versus cons. Are some of these pitfalls something that you've fallen into when you've tried to do a challenge? Are they something that maybe you're afraid you might fall into if you do a challenge? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know if you're going to be participating in Inktober or Drawloween like I am. I'd really love to see some of your work. Like I said, I'm doing Drawloween, which means that I'll be posting art every day in October on my social media accounts. They're linked in the description below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any videos. Like I said, I've got some sketchbook tours coming up this month. They're going to be awesome, and hopefully you guys will be interested in them. If you like the format for this video, then please let me know by hitting the like button. I'm still figuring things out, so this is kind of a new format for me, at least for my sketchbook challenge, which I do a new follow-up video at the end of every month, and I try to post new videos every Friday. So stay tuned for Drawloween, and as always, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next week.